Before we begin today's video, I'd just like to remind folks that I run a Twitch channel. I use my Twitch to stream games, quizzes, countdowns, Q&As, and much more. So please make sure to follow me on Twitch to be notified every time I go live. Howdy folks, Jambareeqi here, and welcome to another episode of Jambareeqi Orange, the show where I let my patrons decide what I review. The nominations for this episode included Avatar, Casper's Haunted Christmas, Miracle on 34th Street, It's a Wonderful Life, Die Hard, The Search for Santa Paws. They chose It's a Wonderful Life. Banker George Bailey is a friendly and kind gentleman who is adored by his local community of Bedford Falls, because he stands up for the working class and isn't afraid to criticize the wealthy Mr. Potter. He also has a loving wife and 3 adorable kids. However, George has always wanted to travel the world and feels conscious of his lack of wealth. When his bumbling uncle accidentally loses his family business's $8,000 deposit, which has ended up in the hands of the crooked Mr. Potter, George is sent on a downward spiral that makes him contemplate suicide. Then, an angel called Clarence falls from the sky, introducing himself as George's guardian, and he grants George's wish of never being born, which makes George realize how much worse off the world would be without him. One thing that makes this a remarkable movie is how it subverts the hero's journey trope. It's almost a deconstruction of this writing formula. George Bailey isn't an average Joe who finds a special destiny. He's an extraordinary man who comes to appreciate living an ordinary life. George stresses a lot over defining himself as a great adventurer, because that's the ultimate human experience for many people, but self-worth shouldn't be defined by how close you reach your dreams. He beats himself up over not meeting his goals yet he's the most selfless person of Bedford Falls. Not only is the only one brave enough to stand up to the rich elitist Potter,
they do most of the working and paying and living and dying in this community. Well, is it too much to have them work and pay and live and die in a couple of decent rooms and a bath? Anyway, my father didn't think so. People were human beings to him, but to you, a warped, frustrated old man, they're cattle.
But he'll also give away his own money to help the working class through hard times.
I got $2,000. Here's $2,000. This'll tide us over to the bank reopens. All right, Tom, how much do you need?
$242.
No, Tom, just enough to tide you over until the bank reopens.
I'll take $242.
Doing good for your local community can have just as much merit as exploring the world. George's reputation is so beloved thanks to his deeds and gestures that throughout the film, we see examples of local characters returning the favor. While being a good person won't make you immune to bad luck or failure, it will increase your chances of people being kind back to you.
How much this cost?
No charge.
That's my trick here, George. Sounded like you said no charge.
That's right.
What's my name doing on it here?
Little present from old man Gower. Came down and picked it out himself.
He did? What do you know about that? My old boss. Isn't that nice?
In steps Clarence. What I love about Clarence is that he isn't your typical angel. Heck, he's the exact opposite of what we should expect. This wingless old man without any spectacle or majesty. There's a humble likability to him that makes him relatable for someone biblical.
How am I doing, Joseph? Thanks. No, I didn't have a drink.
On the one hand, it's funny seeing George being constantly dumbfounded by the changes in this alternate reality, or while Clarence watches from the side, constantly reminding him that he's in a different version of his life. On the other hand, there's a horror to Pottersville that makes us feel for George. It's this seedy and perverted twist on George's reality.
Hey, where'd the building and loan move to?
Building and what?
The Bailey building and loan was up there.
They went out of business years ago.
That man's a liar! I know everything, son, this town! I know father and all! You kicked off the violent!
A world where George's kindness hasn't smitten the community, lives have gone down dark paths without him, and Potter has even more power as a grubby businessman. It's what makes George's return to normalcy so satisfying. Much like George, we appreciate that we've come back to Bedford Falls after being tormented by a nightmare. As an audience, we share George's euphoria, and his new adrenaline for life is almost contagious.
Hey! Kids, Janie, Tommy. Let me look at you. Oh, I could eat you up.
Lo and behold, the very community that George showered with love is very quick to come to his aid and help him make back the money that his uncle lost, bookending a story of how kindness inspires love in return. You could call this sappy, which it kind of is, but the film ends on a bittersweet note, because Potter remains in power and faces no consequences for stealing the money. Now, I won't beat around the bush, this might be a festive classic, but it's still very much an antique of the 1940s. I mean, we get a lot of melodramatic and over-the-top acting that's gone out of style since this Hollywood era.
Now you listen to me. I don't want any plastics, I don't want any ground floors, and I don't want to get married ever to anyone. You understand that? I want to do what I want to do. And you're...
George.
Plus, all the people of colour characters are either background extras or servants to the middle-class white characters. Not to mention, a black maid character is casually sexually harassed in one scene for tasteless comedy.
Annie, my sweet, have you got those pies?
You lay a hand on me, I'll hit you with this broom.
Annie, I'm in love with you. There's a moon out tonight.
Oh, and it's a little cringe how the film makes a dramatic deal about George's wife never getting married to a man.
Where's Mary?
Oh, well, I can't...
I don't know how you know these things, but tell me, where is she? If you know where she is, tell me where my wife is.
I'm not supposed to tell.
Please, Clarence, tell me where she is.
You're not going to like it, George.
Where is she?
She's an old maid. She never married.
Where's Mary? Where is she?
It's a great film, don't get me wrong, but some aspects have admittedly aged like milk. To conclude, It's a Wonderful Life isn't perfect, but I still think it deserves its reputation as a masterpiece, a seasonal comedy drama that thoughtfully meditates on life itself with a mix of fairy tale whimsy and urban horror. What did you think of this movie? Let everyone know in the comments below, and don't forget to click that like button. So what am I going to be reviewing in the next episode of Jambareeqi Orange? Well, that's entirely up to my patrons. The nominations include Monsters Inc., Weathering with You, Flushed Away, Blade, The Banshees of Inisherin, and Smile. Pretty awesome selection, am I right? Now don't forget that you have to be a patron in order to access this poll. What is a patron? Don't worry, I'll explain. This is my Patreon. It's a site for my fans to support me financially on through a monthly basis. Those who donate are called patrons. Patrons can donate as much as they want and are welcome to stop donating anytime. In return for their generosity, patrons are given exciting rewards based on their pledge amount. These rewards include early access to my videos before they go up publicly on YouTube, behind the scenes content, their name in the end credits of my videos, a chance to request a review of anything at all, and much more. Very excited to see what my patrons vote for next. Cheerio, folks.